Today, canceled all my plans and I stepped right aside with my guitar in my hands and the notes became loud as the sound caressed the air and I kicked it up and
I'm sure if you ask somebody, my good friend Ndoka, he will say the publishing was the most tortuous world in the business environment in the world. It's an area where you invest so much, the returns are very poor. Once the economy is down, the advertising income is down. Nigerian buying habits are very poor. So Nigerians will read for free. They don't like to pay for what they read. Our reading culture is not exactly the best in any way. So you add all that, and it's a recipe for crisis. And for example, in publishing, I would say that over the last 30 years, because I started publishing in 1989, that's when Hints came out, I've spent hundreds of millions just supporting that industry, to the point where still till today, I'm getting letters from staff who are saying, oh, you know what, we haven't been paid for 3 months. And meanwhile, they run the business, you know, and they penny of profit. That's the nature of that industry. When we started the movie industry, it was a growth from Hints, and we wanted to take the love stories out, and that's how it started. And then people latched onto it, so I mean, this could really sell. Most of the times, with things that I did were things people thought wouldn't work. When we did romance writing, it was like, it's a joke. It became a household thing. And when we did, we didn't call it Nollywood, they would just call it films. You know, it generated an Nollywood industry. People also thought it was a joke, but it caught on. But once it caught on, then those who don't have the artistic value jumped into it, the traders, the marketers, and then they began to tell you which face must appear on a film, which one they will not take, where you must market. And at that point, we just exited because we were losing money. So the greatest problem with that industry is that you don't have, just like point you raised last time, you don't have base capital where you can reach out for money. Banks won't give you money to go run a film. So usually your own investment, and you lose your investment so many times. Not a lot of people have the capacity to lose investment so many times and keep at it. So I've done it for 30 years, and I found that every year it got worse. It will just come back and get fresh capital and begin again. And then the average Nigerian worker, to be honest, is so entrepreneurial that he doesn't sit in one place. You know, I'll be surprised. I'd like to compare notes to Nduka one day on this day, but you find that my father used to say to me that the moment you begin to count some of your achievements, it's almost like you're closing your chapter. Because what may be important to one person in terms of my achievement may not be. I mean, if I look at the last 3 years, for me, stabilizing the sector, creating the right kind of income generation, changing the international profiling of Nigerian oil sector, which was very, very negative. It was all full of fraudulent scams and all that. And being able to be savvily independent in terms of what your opinions are and how you should do things. Sometimes not succeeding, of course, because of course you have a boss, you have bosses. But making it very clear, without a self-gain mentality in terms of what needs to happen and where we need to be going, I think has changed the dynamics of how this place should be run. So even if one is not there tomorrow, whoever goes in there will have a hard job going back to the old politicking with the oil. So that's good for me. If you ask the oil experts, they'll say that's probably my biggest achievement. If you ask those who were in ExxonMobil, it's just being the senior Nigerian face who could take on the major investors from abroad and teach them a thing or two on how to do business in Africa and be independent enough to protect Nigerians who also work in there so they're not second generation or second fiddles in business. I've run a professorial career. I've done about 10 books, and so writing for me is very key because that's what keeps me linked up to my law training. So I've done about 10 law books. So again, those for me will be the highlights. But what gives me the mental satisfaction, my wife tends to say that I'm sure when you leave all this, if you ask what will you do, is that soft business. It's the publishing. It's the movies. It's the show business. It's the fashion. It's being able to mentor people and take it away from the hardcore. I've done about 250 scholarships to Nigerian universities over the last 10 years, largely within my own local community. And one of the things that excited me was having, 2 years ago, I got to meet some of them who came to pay courtesy. I don't know them. They're chosen by a panel run by 2 professors. And out of about 100 then who were on the scheme, who had just graduated, about 70 had between first class and 2-1s. And most of them were children of the very poor, because the rule in my own scholarship that your parents were such they can't afford training. And if you failed once, you're out of the scheme. So there was no room for laxity. But just to see the sheer bundle of talent you have at those sort of levels, which ordinarily would never have come up, meant a lot to me. I was almost in tears. So those soft lanes. Tomorrow I'm going to be lecturing at Bayes University. 2 weeks ago I was at Harvard University to do a lecture. I serve as visiting professor at about 3 or 4 universities around the world. Those soft intellectual play is what I enjoy most. Then the soft play is what gives me excitement. My children have followed along those tracks. My second son, which is Catch, he plays music.
Yeah.
Mecca is into movie production. He's done the boss of all bosses. So I think that's stripping me in bits and taking the ones that they want. And nobody yet. Well, my daughter chose law, so that helps.
Okay.
Otherwise, I would have said the law and chose the rest. But lots of things give me happiness. I don't know whether they're achievements or whether they're highlights. They're just happenstances. But more than most people that I know, I'm able to integrate very many personalities into one and be able to try and satisfy each of them. Maybe not be a master of any, but I look at my law piece and hopefully I pursued a career in commercial law that made sense that got me here today. I look at my investment and management piece because it got me somewhere. I haven't been much of a politician, but somehow I've gone into the fray and hopefully I haven't done too bad. And then the big bulk of where most people know me is that I lectured in school, either at TIFA or the law school, or as a visiting professor, or the hints, or I think 60% of those who see me, once you mention the name, is the hints, so I get more popularity for that. All of those give me happiness, and being able to measure all of them and still be sane. I've been able to meet my daily needs. I've been able to provide support for the needy where I can within my limits. I think they're all things I have to thank you to God about. Because most times we tend to think that it's the skill or it's your unique expertise. Yeah, those things are important. But quite frankly, it's the grace of God. Because a lot of my trajectory in life has not been doing one thing. It's always been doing multiple things. I definitely would take up the challenge that you pose in terms of how do you support people who are starting their own business in some of these social ladder areas, the movie areas. Because I'm forced into it, and my kids are there anyway. And obviously looking at publishing again from a different perspective. That's definitely there. I'm definitely going to be doing consultancies and trying to continue to ponder solutions for the country. Not necessarily as an active politician, but also as somebody who basically I think I want to see myself as a problem solver. So I'd like to be able to partner in consultancies with states, with federal government, and be able to say, okay, there's this problem, let's solve it, without the tag of you are this or you are that, and just provide creative solutions. And there's a huge amount of opportunities that are lying there. There's a huge amount of investments lying for this country that are just not tapped because our policies are not right and nobody's really the face to bring in this investment. I'd like to see what I can. One of the things that I dream about is being able to set up $2 to $3 billion investment fund. People by the most of the major investment houses all over the world, just focusing on infrastructure, for example, in Nigeria. Because I think our greatest problem in this country is infrastructure. Infrastructure is A, and it's also the Z. Until you do those, you've not started. The problem, however, is that we're not doing infrastructure enough. We're spending more time in doing recurrent expenditures, pay staff salaries, do social issues, do interventions. Until you build those roads, until you build those railways, until you build those power plants, until you build those schools, these hospitals, you've not started. And Dubai is your test case for that. Singapore is your test case for that. And we just need to migrate. And somebody needs to just take that, who has hopefully, I want to believe, some respect internationally, and just put a team together that is respectable, they conjure well as a couple of them, put them together and say, you know what, let's raise investment that we manage. Let's get in this foreign money that is lying out there. And because the returns on Nigerian investments are very good on the average, one of the highest in the world, but the operating environment is brutal. So it's one of the things that I think should keep me challenged. And of course, when I'm bored, my writings are always there. Go back to writing and to teaching. Is that the oil sector should never be the same again. The right decisions must be made without self-interest. The right transparency models must be encouraged. We're not still there yet. We're crawling there. Definitely better than what it was before, but certainly not the standard that it should be. The private sector must be allowed to go back in and be bullish. Monopolies, whether it's by NMPs or anybody, must be killed. We must find a way in which the private sector gets in, be able to build the refineries, be able to build the plants, be able to, and so my point, and just take over. Because once you do that, the return model sets in. People don't waste their time unless it's going to yield a result, and so they're going to be efficient. There's going to be competition. Government monopolies are the saddest things, as far as I'm concerned, that this country has faced over the last decades, and it is absolutely just crumbling the country. And I'm hoping that I've written enough in my 3 years here. I've done 6 books that basically deal with both law and my experiences and all that, and some of the policies that we've done. I think I still have 3 more to do before February. But it is important. I hope these books will be helpful to people and to policy planners. But more important, that you can sit on a desk and really have a purpose. Before I took this job from His Excellency, we had meetings, and I had a purpose where I should go to. There are some sad moments in which I think I didn't achieve the things I ought to have achieved for one reason or the other. But there's no doubt in my mind in terms of what my strategic direction was. I wanted to see these refineries all working, and probably in private hands to run them, if you ask me. I wanted to see power supply to every Nigerian home because we have the gas to do it. I wanted to see the oil companies invest more in this country than just doing crude and taking them away. I wanted to produce oil at the cheapest cost, be able to compete with Saudis. I want to be able to make decisions fast and quick. You see my table when you come in here is usually empty because the rule is that every day I must clean up my desk. If every government official works with that sort of notion, which is where I'm trained, things will move fast, time will be cut, money will be saved, discipline will arise, there will be more transparency, and you don't have to know me, to be able to do things. That's the legacy I hope that I started, and I hope I'll be able to leave behind.